you must know when you're being a dick, like you're a dick. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't feel good to be a dick. Sometimes you do dickish things and you're like, I did, that was a dickish thing. And then you try and do something to sort of
to make up for it.
Recompense. I do that sometimes.
From GoFounder, it's Business Knobs. Why is it called Business Knobs, you might ask? Well, there might well be a few knobs on the podcast, me being one of them. But what it stands for is Business No Bullshit. This podcast series is all about the trials, tribulations, and occasional successes of starting and growing a business without the Hollywood filter. I'm Eddie Whittingham, and today I'm joined by Vic Edwards to talk about standing out from your competitors and why so many people feel compelled to compare themselves against others. It's natural, isn't it, to have a little nosy at what someone else is doing, but who should you even compare yourself to anyway? Will that help you stand out against your competitors, or will it just make you more likely to follow suit? There are a lot of dangers if you get caught up following what everyone else is doing.
I spend more time trying to find out what people like rather than what my competitors are doing.
100%.
Because, for me, what's worked is engaging with people.
Yep.
And being genuine.
Vic's been running his business for 3 years. He made the decision to start his own business following being made redundant with a passion to get more freedom over his own life. During this episode, we talk about our experience of comparing ourselves to others and how, funnily, even our competitors have then taken to comparing themselves to us. There are a lot of pitfalls once you get into that, and also a lot of positives from forging your own path.
3.5 years ago, I was made redundant, and I decided that, it was either go work for another company or set up on my own. So I thought, you know what, fuck it.
Give it a go.
Why not? Exactly. So, I did that. I had no idea about business. I mean, the only thing I knew was, IT, obviously the industry. So, I remember staying up with the missus, downloading a, what do you call it? A business plan.
Yeah.
It was like literally this thick. And then we had to fill it in. We're like, we're not going to do that. Because basically, I mean, I always say this to people is that, if you spend literally, let's say, I don't know, a month, 2 months, filling up, that thick of a business plan, and then COVID hits. Do you know what I mean? You spend all that time doing that. So we sat up, we wrote down 10 things, what are key to us. The one thing that we knew, 3 things we knew is that basically you've got your customers, which we had, and obviously we got suppliers and, and ourselves, those 3, set up a business. And it's from day one, it was just pretty much go. And it started off as trying to be like everyone else, as you do, because, we had no idea. And then, down the line, we're like, no one is actually listening, no one is buying, kind of thing. So we thought we'll change it a bit. Yeah.
I had a similar start. So again, you touched upon the business plan. I think it's a really good point. Business plans have a purpose.
Yeah.
Generally, that purpose is get investment or get a bank loan.
Yeah.
They can be useful for people wanting to make a plan of where they're going, but generally, I think they're mostly shit. Because similar to you, downloaded a couple of examples, was like, fucking hell, it's going to take me 3 months to write this bloody thing.
Yeah.
So I quickly pied it off, probably through laziness, but I quickly thought, I don't think I'm going to get the value of going into every single detail when, truth be told, especially at the start, you don't really know what you're fucking doing, do you?
Exactly.
So it is good because it gets you thinking about some aspects, and it's probably worth rattling through the format of them so you can see the headlines, but working out cash flow projections based on an idea that's most likely going to change is a bit stupid.
Exactly.
But similar to you, when I started my business, I just copied what was out there, really, looked. And I think I think most businesses do. You do it because it's safe, don't you? Look and go, they're doing it that way. They're super corporate. If I set up super corporate, I'm going to look dead professional. We'll look bigger than we are. That was my thing.
Exactly.
I called ourselves the Business Fraud Prevention Partnership, which I've said a few times on this podcast, is probably the world's worst business name. I'd be hard pressed to find a worse one. But the idea behind that was, we need to present ourselves as super corporate, super big, super trustworthy.
Yeah.
And
you've always got to say we as well.
Yeah. We, when it was just me in an attic with the crappiest laptop you've ever seen. Yeah, it's stupid, isn't it? But you convince yourself when you're starting out that's what you've got to do.
You do, yeah, you do. And I mean, that didn't last long, to be honest with you. That didn't last long. Because one of the main reasons was that because when I actually started my own thing, is that it just felt so liberating.
Yes.
It just felt that I need to do something that I've always been told not to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it actually happened that I was on LinkedIn and I saw one of Dan's posts, and I can't remember which one it was.
Dan Kelsall.
Dan Kelsall, yeah. And it was I think it was like a massive penis with veins.
Sounds like
that. yeah, and it was a slider, and this thing was about 20 pages long. I did slide, and it was like, wow, this is awesome. But it stood out, and there was a message at the end of it. And I was thinking, that is, fair enough. It's a penis. It's not for everyone's taste, kind of.
Caption that one.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah. So I thought I'll speak to Dan. So I called Dan. I was like, Dan, mate, that was awesome. This is really cool. And I actually asked him if he could work for me. I was like, yeah. I don't think you can afford me, mate. And I was like, yeah, probably not. Anyway. So I was speaking to him, and I was obviously telling him what I do and stuff. And it's like, what you got to do is that you've got to stand out, because what you're doing, or what most people are doing, is basically just trying to, just sound like everyone else, and no one's going to listen to you. So literally from that day, I took my website down, took all the, I didn't tell you this bit, but so when I did my website, I tried to obviously make it look like everyone else, as you do. And I also had some images in there which were like, tried to resemble me. So like a black dude sat down with like laptops and stuff.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I took all that stuff down. And I got a guy called Dave Officer to hand draw these, images, because that's what I like, and it was pretty cool. So that got taken down, and from that day, I was basically doing everything the opposite to everyone else.
But it's weird, isn't it? We all go to that safe space straight away, and it's probably because it's
safe.
Yeah, it's just because you're not going to get laughed at by doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
But Dan's right, and it's what I ended up doing with what was BFPP, but then the Defence Works, was trying to do something that makes you stand out, because it is highly unlikely that anyone who's starting a business is doing something unique. 99.999% of businesses are already done. You're not doing something unique. You will be effectively doing what someone else is doing, or more realistically, what 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 other businesses are doing.
Yeah.
So if you're just going to set up the same color palette or the same messaging, you're not going to stand out, and you are going to struggle. That's like,
exactly. Yeah.
I didn't get that straight away. It took me a while to cotton on.
Yeah. I mean, unless obviously you're selling like AIDS medicine, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or COVID medicine that cures in like 2 seconds, do you know what I mean? But
got to be,
do you know what I mean? It's got to be something. But yeah, you've got to stand out. So yeah, stand out. I did, and the plan was basically not even talk about work at all. Post nothing work related. That way, people had a reason to find out what I actually did, and obviously, making sure that what I did was on my page. Then, they'll contact me. So, yeah, it just literally from then it just took off. My business took off, and it's been awesome. Obviously, it helps that you actually get the work done.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Not quite as easy as just
exactly.
Doing the opposite of a brand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you still gotta be able to deliver on what you sort of promise. And
I think that's a really good point, because it's almost a given that you can deliver, isn't it? But attracting the clients in the first place has to be the hardest bit, surely.
It is, yeah. But I mean, what you tend to find as well is that, I mean, one of the things, a lot of people who, because a lot of my clients come from LinkedIn, right? But what a lot of sort of gurus tell you as well is that you need to be connected to people who are ready to buy, not ready to buy, what's the word? It's like your target audience. That's the word, target audience. And to me, when I started, it was like, I need to get connected to all these IT managers. But what I found is people who have nothing to do with IT, they actually the people who have actually got me business.
They're really like referring you on.
Exactly, they've referred me. It's like, oh, oh, I swear Vic is awesome. You got to use this guy. I'm like, yeah, cheers, man. Do you know what I mean? And that's how it's worked. So if you're trying to only, I mean, I get it. If you target your audience, and obviously all your marketing is towards those guys, and fair enough. You've got a pretty good whatever, but then that also means that you're boring. Do you know what I mean? Because you have those people, unless obviously you drill it down to, I'm going to target all IT managers who like to say the word fuck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That way at least you've got something to play with. Not obviously that's a really shit example, but you get me. Do you know what I mean? So, like IT managers who have got a sense of humor or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, sorry, I cut you off then.
No, but you've got to attract the audience, and you don't need to hone in on those exact specifics. Like for example, with GoFounder, I can hopefully attract people who have started a business and want to grow it. Yeah. But how the fuck do you identify someone who's thinking about starting a business? Well, you don't, because they're not going to fucking put that on LinkedIn.
No, exactly. Yeah,
so it's more about putting content out there. It'll hopefully resonate. You'd be surprised how many messages I get on my LinkedIn that say, I really like your content, but for fear of being fired, I can't like it. Because they.
By the way, your website is shit hot.
Oh, thank you.
Well, no,
I'll
seriously.
tell the company that made it. Because I did.
No, honestly, like, I spent a few. I don't want to say too long, but a long time on the website. But
I can't take credit.
But
for
it's honestly, it is awesome. Like anyone who actually does want to start a business,
it's somewhere to start.
It's somewhere. It is. It definitely. Because that's the other thing as well. Because when we started, we didn't really know what we're doing. Obviously you go to .gov and obviously they tell you this is what everyone else does.
Basic, yeah.
It is very, very basic. Because we didn't even know that you obviously have to set up the company, and then obviously VAT registered limited company, blah, 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 all that stuff. You need to sort of like kind of understand what it is, because the last thing you want to do is get in debt and then lose your house, so, it's one of them things.
There's so much like admin shit you've got to learn at the start. And you can be naive to it, but you still have got to learn it at some point, or get the expert in to tell you how to do it. But I couldn't believe when I first set up, there's almost like the service that you're going to do or the product that you're going to do, that's one job, but the other job is running the fucking business and learning about all the admin bollocks behind it. There's so much of that to do.
Exactly. I mean, like the other thing as well is that, so we had the business ready, and clients wanted to buy, but we had to wait for, I think it's like a month, because our bank account wasn't set up.
Yeah.
Because, that's the other thing as well. And Yorkshire Bank.
Well, banks are a nightmare. We, so some of the traditional banks, like you just mentioned, NatWest and Co. They are exceptionally slow at getting the business bank account set up.
Yeah.
There are some of the new wave banks like Sterling Bank and all those, and they're quicker, but then longer term, they might not have some of the functionality that the bigger banks have. So it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Because that just slows the process down. And that's the other thing, like across the board, everything takes fucking ages.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, you don't, because all you want to do is, start selling. But obviously you can't, but you learn, kind of thing. But I wish there was someone to tell you, what you had to do, what you needed to do to obviously start trading. But
that's what GoFounder's all about.
Well, there you go.
Sounds like an advert now. So I find it really interesting, the whole concept of competitors across the board. And I've got a few stories I can share around that. But what's been your approach to sort of dealing with your competitor? Are you someone who keeps a keen eye on them? Are you someone who doesn't really focus on them too much? Or what's been your sort of take on it?
I don't even pay attention to them, to be honest with you. Like, not at all. Weirdly, I actually focus more on the marketing side of things.
Yeah, 100%.
I spend more time trying to find out what people like rather than what my competitors are doing. Because, like, for me, what's worked is engaging with people and being genuine. I don't like using the word authentic because it's lost its meaning completely. But yeah, I've completely not looked at competitors. Obviously, you need to.
You need to know the ad, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah, you do. And
but you don't like. So I've got an example of that from my line of work. So I set up similar time to a company here in Manchester, and whether or not they were, it's almost like they're obsessed with what I was doing.
Yeah.
And truth be told, I wasn't even looking at what they were doing because I personally was looking at the big boys in the industry with a mind of like, well, if this business grows like I want it to, I need to compete with them because they're the big boys and they're eating at the table that I want to eat at.
Yeah.
Or they're going to be the company that's going to acquire mine.
Yeah.
Whereas like the pissy little competitors that are at my level, at that really low level, like, what the fuck am I going to learn from them? Like, we're all shit.
Yeah.
So what, you know, do you know what I mean? But it was really strange. And like, for example, in my case, this competitor, he put like a bit of a snide comment on one of my posts one day because I'd done like a little GIF, a little meme that did quite well. He had a bit of a swipe at that. And I was like, yeah. In fact, I replied saying, can't competitors play nicely?
Yeah.
Then he stalked my website, and this was a week before we did the rebrand for the Defence Works. This is when I had my very corporate shit website that I'd built myself, and it was crap.
Yeah.
And he sent me a message at like 8 o'clock one night, just saying, just been on your website, and your case studies only have about 20 employees between them, or something, words to that effect. I was like, what a fucking weird thing to do. He sat at home at night time looking at my really shit website just to make himself feel better about like the clients that he's got. Yeah. Little did he know we were a week away from the rebrand, which launched a week later, where we had like Gusto, Fulham Football Club, we had Taylor Wimpey, we had like massive, like decent names.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? What, like, fair enough, like if you want to be that pathetic, but you are only fooling yourself. Like, focus on yourself. Like you're saying there, like focus on your own marketing and think about where you want to go. Because if you are so sidetracked by your competitors,
that's it.
You're just going to copy.
Game over. Yeah, exactly. And you lose track, and you also lose. I mean, you know, there've been times where I've gone like, I want to be where, you know, they are, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
You need to know,
and I need to, you know, but then I look back and I'm like, one of the main reasons of me setting my business was because I never want to be like those people.
Yeah.
Because then you need to, you know, when I go back to the 10 things that I mentioned, is that, you know, they're nothing like what those guys are. Do you know what I mean? They might have like team and blah, blah, blah. You know, I've got things like family, happiness. I've got things like don't give a fuck. Yeah. You know what I mean? On my 10 lists, which they don't have, or be different, you know, they don't have that. Unless they do.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
But
they don't show it.
How empowering is it to be like, so I'm very similar to you. Like, I honestly don't give a fuck what people think. And people find that strange, but it comes from probably family. My whole family don't really give a shit about it. We can say anything to each other and no one's offended, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, I know deep down I'm a nice guy. Like, I'm not a dickhead.
Yeah.
I'm not an abuser, blah, blah, blah. I'll be nice and I'll try and help people. Yeah. So I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But how freeing and empowering is it for you to be a business owner, to be yourself, to not give a fuck what people think? And as I've seen from a lot of your posts on LinkedIn, like, you are clearly passionate about your family. And I think that is so empowering. And that in itself is probably a massive driver for you alone. It
is. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I mean, I remember, you know, even when I was working, you know, for people, I used to look up. I mean, I'll tell you a story actually. I used to before I was doing IT. I was in the stationery industry, and I was selling, you know, stationery. And the managing director at the time, he used to have a Porsche, and I remember we had like some kind of meeting or something down in Birmingham, and I remember going to him and just say, "Wow, you know, one day I want to be like you." And I've still got messages. I contacted him on LinkedIn, and he left. He went to work for, I think it was Kingfisher or something. It was quite high up there. Anyway, I messaged him, you know, just saying, "Oh, basically, I've set up my own company and stuff." He was a really, really nice guy. I've set up my own company, and I don't think I want that Porsche anymore. You know. My Porsche now is just happiness.
Yep.
And when you sort of look back to the things that, materialistic things that you actually want, and if they actually make you happy, it's just so weird. It just, you actually, when you take a step back and actually look what you actually want to achieve and what you actually want in business, obviously in life as well, things change, but there's a lot of people, especially in my industry, who are still the same, still doing
focused on that
focus on materialistic. And you know what? They're never happy. I've got to say, like, I am the happiest I've ever been. I'm like, I'm not rich, but I can pay my bills.
Yeah.
And the other thing as well, which I got a bit sidetracked in my brain, but is that I remember thinking, like, I want to be, to be able to go to a supermarket and just pick something up from the shelf.
Yeah.
And not worry about how much it is.
Tot it up as you're going around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and and to be able to be, that comfortable.
Yeah.
And that happy, or even holiday.
If I want some Diet Coke, I'll get some Diet Coke.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? And not going like,
I'll get the roller coaster.
I'll get the roller. Do you know what I mean? And that to me was, so in a way being comfortable, and that to me is being successful, and that's how I measure my success. Not because I mean, it's nice to drive a nice car and everything, but when you buy that, I said this before, when you buy that nice car, when you have them goals, then you get to that goal, and then what happens is you're not satisfied because you always want to go above. So you're constantly, do you know what I mean?
Chasing out.
Yeah, you're constantly chasing. I mean, fair enough, it's like, part of life, part of process, but you need to be able to appreciate what you've actually got at that moment in time.
So interesting then. So the most valuable thing then, therefore, to you probably is that a bit of money to give you that freedom, but the freedom.
It is just being, free. And honestly, like, I can't stress how much my family actually are, like, mean to me. I mean, I know I say it all the time, but it's just amazing, being able to, see my kids and spend time with my kids and not having to ask for permission and not made to feel guilty because, like, I want to leave early or whatever. It's just,
I love that.
Do you know what I mean? It's just amazing. And obviously I've got an amazing wife who she's just backs me up. She's like, if I tell her I want to do something, she's like, yeah, cool, I got your back, kind of thing. And that's what you need. And then I don't know, we'll probably touch on this, but the other thing as well is support, because it's very hard as a business owner. Obviously you do have some really shit times as well. There are times where, like, you have someone there to go, like, oh, of course you are. It's like, you're not losing money. You're doing quite well. You're happy, and so, and then it's just having her behind me is amazing, because, like I said, when you get lonely as well, is that most of my friends don't own companies. They work for other people, so you can't really go to them and start. You can't start talking to them because it almost feels like you're bragging or something. But it's like, no, I'm not. I just want someone.
I really struggled with that when I started, because I didn't. I've said a few times on different podcasts, I didn't know anyone in business. So I've got my brother-in-law is a tree surgeon, but other than that, like, literally grew up in Scunthorpe in a very ordinary working class family, and didn't have anyone, even close family friends, to kind of look at and learn about, or even ask questions. And I found that the hardest thing when I started was, like, I can't. My mates would help and they'd answer questions, but they don't. Their stresses are different to my stresses. Yeah. And like you said, it's not, you're not going because you're bragging. It's like, some of the fucking stresses are horrible.
Yeah.
I found really, really helpful having people around me that could support me. One, similar to you, I've got an amazing wife. Two was getting into that sort of circle of people where they were in similar experiences. So finding people who were founders themselves, who could at least share those pain points with. So inevitably, when my missus, as amazing as she is, got fed up of me talking shit about business at 10 o'clock at night, I could then text or call somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm really good friends with Craig Brooks, Steve as well, Stephen Lockett, and Lee. We because of it, we kind of share the same thing. We we kind of have the same sort of mentality about business. So we do chat quite a bit and try and help each other. But sometimes it does get lonely. But I'd rather.
You wouldn't change it.
No, I would rather be lonely than yeah.
So interesting. You got made redundant, which was your sort of trigger to then start your own business.
Yeah.
Obviously now the benefit is that sort of freedom and the time with the family, which is mega important to you. But was that the same driver when you set out to do it? Like, or was it like the Porsche and things like that? Has it changed, or was it always that freedom?
It's always been freedom.
Yeah.
It's always been freedom. I mean,
it's a shame that money is freedom, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously money helps, massively, because there's a lot of things you can't do, if you haven't got it. So, money helps, but it's not everything. I tend to find that when I'm not focusing on actually making money and when I'm just literally trying to be happy, it's when money comes.
Yeah, that's a good point. That reeks of desperation.
Yeah,
sometimes
exactly.
If you're not careful.
You can sense it. Same as like when someone is trying to look for a job. When they're unemployed, it's just your energy is totally different to when you've got a job and you're trying to look for a job. I think it's kind of the same. Most people don't know that my mom's Tanzanian, so Swahili is actually. But it's my mother tongue. Yeah. So like I actually spoke Swahili before I spoke English.
Wow.
I grew up in Tanzania and came here for like college and uni.
Yeah.
My dad's from here, from Kent. But yeah, so I've been quite lucky. My dad works for United Nations. Yeah. So I've been quite lucky that to travel and see different parts of the world kind of thing. So it's been amazing. And I wanted to be a footballer. That's all I ever wanted to do.
And how's that going?
I wanted to play football. Yeah, it's not going good, but I'm still playing Sunday league. But
nice.
Yeah, when you've got a family, it's really hard sometimes to just take off like half of the day. With the lads, and
because then it's also the session afterwards.
Exactly, that's the thing. And then the older you get as well, you got to pay for it. Come Monday morning, it's like
I still play 5-a-side, and it's a struggle.
5-a-side is worse.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Honestly, no, 5-a-side, because like running up and down, because it's weird. Like 5-a-side, 11-a-side, they're two different things. Honestly,
I'm shit at both of them.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I grew up in Tanzania, and I came over. So like we've always come in and out kind of thing during holidays and stuff to see my dad's family, but it's a totally different world. It's a totally different world to how things were in Tanzania. Because I mean, obviously, I don't know if we should touch on this, but things like racism and stuff like that, which is and obviously sad because it does exist.
Yeah.
But initially it was actually I'll tell you this little story, which is quite funny. But when I was at college, I went to B&Q. I didn't go to B&Q. I applied to go work at B&Q. Now my name is Victor Edwards, so obviously I had my name there, and sent it out, and then it was my interview. So I went for an interview, and I was waiting there. I was like, I'm here to see the manager basically because I've got an interview. It's like, okay, cool. I'll go get the manager. So the manager came. Her name was Julie, kind of Julie something, but I just remember her first name. And she came, was like, I don't want to offend you or anything, yeah? But I was actually expecting a tall, white dude. It's like, I had to laugh though. It was quite funny. Do you know what I mean? It was quite funny. I was like, yeah, Victoria, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, no. It was yeah. But I was
a
like,
strange thing to say.
Yeah, exactly. It was just so unnecessary. But it was quite funny. And obviously there's a lot of things. It's weird because there's a lot of things. I know the whole white privilege thing. People talk about it and stuff. But you don't really realize. But I saw a video yesterday, which was sort of like a reverse on how it was actually an Australian video where all these people were all native, Aborigines, or whatever. And then there was like one white dude with ginger hair, and basically he was the minority. So they were trying to do everything to obviously make him feel comfortable. And it was so weird to see the reverse. So obviously, they had this thing like the white room and stuff like that. And I was like, that is so weird because you don't really see it. I mean, I remember walking down Wakefield, and I always remember this. This woman, she saw me coming, and she literally moved her purse to the other side, and I was like, wow. But it's things like that you don't even sort of like do you know what I mean? It's sad, but
it's just fucking stupid, isn't it? I mean, have you had any of that in the workplace?
In the workplace,
from a business setting?
Not really. I mean, obviously, there's always, sort of like the banter kind of thing, but I'm one to sort of just being like, yeah, it's banter kind of thing. But I think there's always jokes. There's always jokes and stuff like that, which is fine. It's jokes, but it's jokes that it's like you've always sort of like learned, they're jokes, so you're like, oh yeah, funny, so you laugh at it, and I never really got offended or anything. But there are certain things are done or said that kind of make the situation worse. Do you know what I mean? Things like, for example, when I heard apparently you can't sing "Bar Bar Black Sheep," and I'm like, I've never been offended by that. Never ever been offended by that. But now you've said it, I'm like, oh, do you know what I mean? Or like whiteboard, blackboard. I'm like, it's always been a blackboard. Do you know what I mean? And it's because it's a fucking blackboard. And then he's sort of like, and then you get people like, oh, you can't say that. It's like, why can't people say certain things? It's like, because that then makes everything worse. Obviously there are things. There are people out there who are out and out fucking dickheads. Do you know what I mean? And there is, unfortunately, and there is. But I think there is also a lot of things that we, as a society, just make them worse. Where everything is fine, and then it's like, oh, you can't say that. It's like, but then I can't tell that person not to say that, not to obviously defend me, because obviously they're trying to be the good guys. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? And it's like
puts
such
you
a
in
weird,
difficult position.
Exactly. So it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake, do you know what I mean? Just walk out. So yeah. But I've got to say, I've been quite lucky. I've had it at football and stuff, which is just like you kind of go like, oh yeah, fuck it, it's football. It can't happen, and it shouldn't happen.
No, it
but
shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. But it shouldn't happen. But it's just like, fuck it. But yeah, because my wife is white as well. Something happened actually 2 years ago, which was quite fun. When it was literally a year after set the business, and I was going to a ball in Manchester at Hilton, and I needed some shoes. It was a black tie, and I needed some shoes. So went around Wakefield, try and find some shoes. Couldn't find any, so I decided to go to Marks and Spencer. Right. So went to Marks and Spencer to go and find, to get some shoes. And the security guy was following me, right? Everywhere. Fuck's sake. I was like, here we go. Anyway, so follow me to to where the shoes were. I decided, you know what, this is it. So I went to him, I was like, have you got a problem, mate? I was like, no. I was like, you've been following me? I was like, no, I haven't. I was like, mate, you've been following me. So, no, I haven't. It's like, oh, and then he goes, the manager told me to follow you. It's like, why? It's like, I don't know. And this dude started shaking. I was like, this is not on. This is not on. I want to speak to your manager.
Yeah, so he fucking knows he's in the wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so I want to speak to the manager. So the manager came. I was like, what's the problem? I was like, obviously explain the situation. And he was like, well, because you look like someone who stole. No, he didn't say that at first, actually. I can't remember what he said. And I was like, honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, it's the first time I felt really, really, really small. Anyway, before all this happened, I asked her, can we go into a room and obviously talk about this? Because this is right in the middle of the shop floor. Yeah. And I was just like...
It's embarrassing for
pissed.
you.
Exactly. And I was so pissed off. Anyway, before all this happened, I asked, there was a guy there. He was the stereotypical person who would shop at Marks and Spencer. I was like, please, can you do me a favor? Can you just obviously stand here and just be my witness? Yeah. Because obviously, this shouldn't be happening. So he stood there. Anyway, this went on and stuff. I was actually escorted out of Marks and Spencer because of all this. I told her, like, because I'm not going to lie, at this point I was fucking going nuts, right in the middle of Marks and Spencer in Wakefield. And I was absolutely losing it. And so they escorted me out. And I went to that guy and I was like, thank you very much, obviously, and everything. I was like, and he apologized on their behalf. He said, I'm really, really sorry. I was like, obviously, the reason why you're here, well, the reason why this is happening is like, and he was like, well, I'm not going to lie to you, it's because you're black. And, they thought you're going to steal. I was like, dude, I was actually going there. And one of the things I wanted to say to him, I was like, I can actually pay that security guy's wage.
Yeah.
You know, I have got more money than that guy. And I didn't want to be that vain to say that. But that's how,
But
do you know what I mean?
That's almost like, it's almost worse than the overtly racist people, isn't it? Because it's like, they're trying to like cover it up.
It is, because, you know, it messes, honestly, I've never felt that low. Never, ever felt that low. It was literally the worst bit. I phoned my mum after that. I phoned one of my mates, actually lives in Wigan. Told him he actually drove over, because I was just never ever felt like that before. He came over. You know, was surprisingly, he's white as well, totally opposite me. He's like tall motherfucker, 6'4", white, and so weird when we walk. It's like, but yeah, he came over. Sam, you know, had a chat and stuff. But I phoned my mum. I told my mum, and my mum was just like, "Why are you surprised?" Do you know what I mean? Which is
that's a damn incitement, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, we've
exactly.
Still got a long way to go, haven't we?
Exactly. It is, and it's so sad. It's so sad, and because when you actually think about it, is it's such a sad situation to think, you know, because everyone goes like, "Oh, we're all humans, we're all equal and stuff," but just to actually think there is a divide between, you know, it's sad. But you know what? And that's the reason why I love doing what I'm doing, owning my own business, because you know what, shit like that will never happen. I'll never ever feel to, you know, I'll never have to like feel like, you know, someone is, I'm in control with everything.
And if you ever got someone who you didn't like, you could just fuck them off.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and I'll never have to. I mean, you do sometimes feel like you're different to everyone else in in the office and stuff, or I used to feel anyway. But you know, that was just me. And it's weird, like it's almost like an insecurity being black. Do you know what I mean? It's something that you just feel, but you don't really say anything or you whatever. But now I'm like, yeah, fuck that shit. I'm the boss. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so you know, I suppose that's another thing as well. But
so actually, being your own boss has been quite an empowering process as well.
Yeah, it has. You know, it has, and it's sort of, sometimes it's weird to know what you're actually capable of until you actually...
I think this is really interesting, because I think that's the bit people don't realise, do they? And that's the exciting bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, until you take that jump, you don't know what
you're actually capable of. I said to someone the other day is, so I used to work for someone, for a few companies, and essentially I was basically running sort of like a mini business within a company.
Yep.
Because that's pretty much what you're doing. I was an account manager, or whatever you want to call them, business development, whatever, all the titles, whatever. But essentially I was doing everything. I was selling, I was doing the customer service bit, I was doing, all the other bullshit. And but I was doing that for someone else. The only difference is I was never given the opportunity to actually show my capabilities, what I'm actually capable of. Because imagine if those guys let me do what I'm doing now in their company.
Crazy, isn't it? I say that all the time. I had exactly this. So I was at a law firm where I had a very unusual background. And I kind of think, I'm like, they'd have just harnessed.
Yeah.
And similar to you, if they'd have just harnessed your talent,
you'd
have ended up building that crazy big business that you've built for yourself in their business.
Yeah.
You'd have been poorer for it, and you wouldn't have been your own boss, and you wouldn't have had some of the things that we've said of how empowering it's been and all that stuff. But they'd have profited from that. But they've almost not seen that in you and more fool them.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, and there's like millions of people like myself, like yourself as well, and unfortunately they're working for these shitty companies that are so up their own asses, so egotistical, so everything, and it's horrible.
Yeah,
it is horrible.
Yeah, it is, and I suppose when you set out, you probably didn't realise. You didn't realise, I'm sure, what you could be capable of.
No, and
then even now, you probably sat here and thinking, God, you're doing really well at the minute. Like, where can you be in a year's time, 2 years time, 5 years time?
Yeah,
it's mental.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a journey and it's a process, but and you learn a lot as well. Because that's the other thing. I think even within a business, I think even if you're working for someone, it's important to sort of have a basic understanding of of a business and how a business is run, because not knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And you learn things, because then if anything happens, or if it's just for these guys to actually understand what it takes to actually keep everyone afloat, and actually to bring money in, because you want people to be what's the word? I'll say not responsible, but
like self-sufficient, or
no, as in to basically get a better understanding of the business, so they actually feel it. So
they've got more like ownership within the business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So so take ownership, so that they actually feel that they're part of that business, rather than just employees who literally just clock in and clock out.
It does sound stupid, but I think there are a lot of employees, and I was guilty of this, that I didn't fully understand that my job as the employee was essentially to make money. Like, it sounds so fucking obvious.
Yeah.
But you are, there are very few businesses that operate like a charity. Like, every employee within a business is there to serve a purpose, and that purpose ultimately, one way or another, is to make money for that business. And that's not a negative. The business is the provider of all the pensions and the employment and everything else. It's not. Sometimes seems to be like a dirty word with like profit and things like that, which is crazy.
No. I mean, it's profit, and that's why there's business, and that's why there's business in the first place. At the end of the day, we're all out to make money. But also we need to understand, or I suppose it's a two-way thing, but the people who own businesses, they need to understand that, that those people are actually people, they're humans.
Well, there is that as well. So actually, that's a good point. So it's all good making money, but actually, don't be a dickhead boss and just hoard the money. Actually do something good with the money. Because I think that's the other thing that people sometimes miss. I think when you become a business owner, you are in such a privileged position, and a position of, in inverted commas, power, that you need to be humble and graceful, and you need to think about what can you do that has actually got a positive impact.
Yeah.
So for me, my driver with GoFounder is, I don't need that to be a cash cow for me personally. I want that to reinvest and make it the best possible platform I can for people who are either starting out or wanting to grow their business, to help them have success. And that's like the driver. And other people, it might be a social economic reason. In fact, I've got a few ventures, and every single one of them have a green attachment to it. So having some sort of impact on the world, hopefully, in terms of from a green perspective in it. And I think all business owners have a responsibility to do that, whether it's just as simple as being a decent boss to your staff and looking after them, whether it's hopefully improving the climate, the current climate, or the economy, whatever it is. But don't be a fucking money grabbing tosser.
Exactly. There is actually no better feeling than helping someone.
Yeah.
And knowing that you've helped someone. It doesn't mean that you go out posting saying I've helped someone.
No, this is
knowing. Do you know what I mean? You don't actually have to do that.
Yeah, you don't have. Well, so good story. Oh shit, I'm going to do it now.
Yeah.
If I was talking to you in private, I would tell you the story about when I wasn't paying myself and I gave my staff all bonuses at Christmas.
Yeah.
Now I've said that, it looks like I'm saying it for the purpose of...
No,
but the whole point with that was like, I got more out of doing that for my staff than I did for paying myself, because it meant more to them than it did to me, because I was fully invested in the business, recognizing entirely that they're not as invested, but they are employees, but that will make a big difference to their lives. And my value was by not taking a bonus myself and reinvesting that in the business, but I shouldn't expect them to. So giving them that value felt good. Really good.
Yeah, exactly. You feel good, and it's weird. I always say about energy and karma and everything else, but these things almost come back. When you feel good, when you everything is like amazing things happen. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, unless you're like a psycho, you must know, right? You must know when you're being a dick, like you're a dick. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't feel good to be a dick. You know, sometimes you do dickish things and you're like, you know, I did, you know, that was a dickish thing. And then you try and do something to sort of like, to make up for it. I mean, I do that sometimes. I mean, sometimes, you know, I do dickish things. I'm like, that was such a dick thing to do. And, you know what I mean? I best go in, I don't know, fucking go sweep the road or something.
To make up for
it. But, you know, you do that. But yeah, there is no better feeling that, like, knowing you've helped someone, but even better feeling knowing that when you've helped that person, you know, they've gone and done something probably to help someone else, or, you know, but then you kind of see the result on like what's happened to, you know, that you've done to help that person. And like yourself, you know, I've helped a few people, and like you see that and you're like, wow, you know, they're doing pretty cool now.
And that's something that I probably haven't reflected on much as a business owner, and perhaps you haven't, but I think you end up focusing so much on like trying to build your business, but actually when you stop and look at what you put back into the system, so the jobs you've created, which has benefited not only the people that have got the jobs, but the tax that goes back into the system, and you know, the suppliers that you've worked with, all that little economy that you've created almost, and you have created, which is amazing. And you've put all that money back into the system, which pays for all, you know, all the everything good stuff else that we have in the world. And it's a bit cheesy, but it's a good thing to reflect upon. Like, you are doing good things by doing that, and if you can, you know, if I looking back, I'm proud that I made jobs and you know, gave people a decent salary and all that sort of stuff. And people should be, and that it's a good part of being a business owner, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's totally. Just now, I was actually just thinking about you know, the people and the guys obviously have, you know, kind of help, and it's just. I've actually never thought. I've never thought about the money back into the system, which sometimes is painful. You know, when
don't get me wrong. I'm fucking fuming about it.
But to know that obviously you're in that position, and obviously the reason why you're paying that much back is because you're doing well, and it's not understandable. And you know, again, for me, it was never ever to go out and be a millionaire or whatever. If that happens, then you know, fucking great. Do you know what I mean? But you know, it was just being comfortable and just being happy, and actually genuinely help other people. Not saying it, actually go out and try and, you know, and try and help people. But it's amazing. It's amazing. That's so weird. Actually, I've actually thought about. I'm actually thinking now, it's actually a journey. I've never actually reflected.
It is a journey.
You know, sometimes
it's a hell of a journey. It's crazy.
It's been, you know, it's been a journey, but it's been awesome. You know, it's been awesome. I'll do it again. And you know what? I've got no regrets. And my aim is to never have regrets.
That's Vic Edwards, founder of VLAN, an IT solutions provider. So many businesses make the mistakes that we talked about during this episode. Copying what's out there because it's what's safe, but the truth is, you're highly unlikely to have a USP in what you do. So it's important you think about how you think you should stand out. Doing things differently can be a great way to do that. How much attention are you paying to your competitors? Perhaps it's too much. Are you guilty of doing what everyone else is? How can you embrace a different position in your marketplace? Thanks so much for listening to this episode. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and you can also find out more about how we're helping businesses get started without the bullshit over at GoFounder.com. A special thanks to Vic, and of course to you for listening to Business Knobs from GoFounder.